All right. Thank you for being here. All right. To be timely, we all have lots of things going on, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for being here today. I am Congresswoman Stephanie Bice, and on behalf of the Bipartisan Paid Family Leave Working Group, we are so excited to be unveiling the new bipartisan bill, H.R. 3089, that will support American families by expanding access to paid family leave. Congresswoman Chrissy Houlahan and I founded this bipartisan working group in the 118th Congress out of a shared personal interest in paid leave and a desire to bring a fresh set of eyes to this policy area. After conducting months of stakeholder roundtable events, we spent the last year drafting the bill that was introduced earlier today. We took on this mission because too often American workers face impossible choices between earning a paycheck and caring for a newborn. The aim of this working group is to help give these families the time and financial support needed during life's most critical moments. The first title in the bill would provide a modest incentive for states to establish their own paid family leave program by using a public-private partnership model. And in order to qualify, the states would need to provide at least 6 weeks of paid leave for the birth or adoption of a child and a wage replacement between 50 and 67% of income, workers' income, depending on those thresholds. Let me be clear, though. This bill is not a mandate. It is an incentive that recognizes that states are already paving the way in this space. I am incredibly proud of the work that this working group has done and look forward to advancing these bills over the next weeks and months. At this time, I want to turn the mic over to my fellow co-chair of this working group, Representative Chrissy Houlahan.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's really amazing to be able to be standing here, and it has been a years-long effort. Long before Stephanie and I began this work, this kind of work was begun by many, many others whose shoulders we stand upon. In fact, my daughter, Molly, is 33 years old. Her firstborn is now 6 months and 2 days old, and she was a baby, literal newborn, when the FMLA Act first came into being. And so it's been generations of us who have worked on this. Good afternoon. My name is Chrissy Houlahan. I'm really, really glad to be here to mark this moment. After more than 2 years of this bipartisan work, which is historic, which is not only bipartisan on the House side, but also has a companion group on the Senate side as well. After many hours of discussions with stakeholders, businesses, advocacy groups, today we are unveiling, and very proud to unveil, this very first of its kind policy on paid leave in the United States. Through our More Paid Leave for More Americans Act, we are providing pathways for states to increase access to paid leave, to communicate better with one another about that access, to exchange data, and to support efforts to create streamlined practices so that access to paid leave meets our modern digital age as well. So take this example. Right now, there is no single process for state programs to process claims for individuals who have work histories possibly across multiple states so that these individuals can receive benefits. I come from Pennsylvania. My state borders many states, but my district borders Maryland and Delaware. So it's possible that people who work in my community might have nexuses, or businesses might have nexuses amongst many states. So the Interstate Paid Leave Action Plan, or Network, or I-Plan, will allow states to come together and to fix that problem so that people who have worked in both Delaware and New Jersey, or Delaware and Maryland, or Pennsylvania will know how to access their hard-earned leave. And I hope Pennsylvania is next too when they have their own state laws as well. So we have 14 states and counting that are now amongst those who have state paid family leave programs on the books. And Congress has to support that drumbeat that is building from states to legislate paid leave or risk losing that opportunity to support many more workers, businesses, and families as well. This is also something I want to pause on because we stand here in a bipartisan and bicameral way because over 77% of Americans support this idea of paid family leave. This is a nonpartisan and frankly, unfortunately, a uniquely American issue because we still are amongst just a handful of countries that don't have access to paid leave. So we still have a lot of work cut out for us, both on this bill and on the continued fight to have more paid leave for more people, because this won't be a problem that solves itself. But I'm very determined, and I know we are as well as a group, to get to the very end, and very, very proud of the work that we've laid to make this opportunity possible today. I do want to end with an immense gratitude to my colleague and my dear friend Rep. Bice. It's been the highlight of my congressional career to do this work alongside her. I also want to highlight and thank our teams as well, because there is power behind the team that actually did all the work. So thank you to both of you from our offices. It's a model of what this body can do when we put our partisanship aside in favor of good policy making. Many of you know, as I've mentioned, that this is very personal. I'm honored to be part of this work. We cannot wait another 30 years for movement to happen. Thank you all again for being here. I have the privilege of introducing Michelle Stockwell, President of BPC Action, for her remarks as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Michelle Stockwell, and I'm the president of the Bipartisan Policy Center Action. It's a privilege to be here with the House Paid Leave Working Group on this momentous day. Thank you, Representative Stephanie Bice, Chrissy Houlahan, and the entire working group, Mr. Gomez, Mr. Beyer, Ms. Letlow, Ms. Miller-Meeks, for your leadership and commitment to address this issue that impacts so many Americans. You have demonstrated that smart, pragmatic, bipartisan policy change is achievable, and if enacted, will demonstrably improve the lives of working families. According to BPC polling conducted last year, nearly a quarter of unemployed caregivers have been unable to enter or re-enter the workforce due to caregiving responsibilities. And over 80% of workers agree that it is important for policymakers to increase investments to make it easier for Americans to care for their loved ones. While state-level laws have helped provide access to paid leave for millions of workers, the bills introduced today by this group will expand that opportunity to millions more. That is why BPC Action is proud to endorse the I-Plan Act and the More Paid Leave for More Americans Act. Together, these policies will improve the efficiency of existing state paid leave and medical leave programs and help establish new paid family leave programs and promote greater uniformity across states, ultimately increasing access to this critical benefit. Thank you and congratulations.
And at this time, I want to bring up to the microphone my colleague and friend, Representative Julia Letlow.
Wow, what an exciting day. And I'm just so honored to be a part of this working group. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you both for leading this and for all of our colleagues for working so hard on this. We know that providing families with more access to paid leave benefits is both pro-family and just good economics. Supporting working families starts with expanding paid leave. Our approach is bipartisan, fiscally responsible, and would make a meaningful difference. Paid leave provides parents with the peace of mind to stay home with their babies after childbirth without fear of losing their jobs. But it also encourages moms and dads to stay in the workforce for the long haul. Studies show that paid family leave policies increase the odds of parents staying in the workforce, boosting our workforce participation. Paid leave laws should encourage flexible solutions without unduly punishing small businesses. That's the balance that we've struck. Our legislation creates a pilot program to incentivize states to establish their own paid leave programs via public-private partnerships. The bill also establishes the Interstate Paid Leave Action Network, the I-Plan, to foster greater coordination between paid leave programs across states and cut administrative red tape so these benefits can be delivered. As a mom of 2 young children, I have seen the challenges of juggling parenthood with employment commitments. My kids, Jacqueline and Jeremiah, mean the world to me, and I relish every second that I get to spend with them. I want more Americans to have that ability without missing a single paycheck. We'll continue to fight the good fight and pursue policies which support our working families. Thank you so much. And now I have the honor to introduce Rep. Gomez for his remarks. Yeah.
Good afternoon. So I'm Congressman Gomez, and I represent Los Angeles. And before I ever became a dad, I had some experience with paid leave. And that was because when I was about 7 years old, I got sick with pneumonia. My parents didn't have health insurance. That meant I didn't have health insurance. And I spent about a week in the hospital. And because, as parents do, they don't want their kid to be in the hospital by themselves. My parents skipped work, did what they had to do to be there. But when we had our mounting hospital bills, plus the fact that they lost paychecks, it really did put a strain on our family. And when I got elected to the legislature, I wanted to work on something that would make sure that no family would be in the position of deciding, hey, do I spend time with a sick child or a new family member, or do I have to go to work in order to put food on the table and a roof over people's head? So I prioritize expanding paid family leave in California, which was the first state in the country to pass it all the way back in 2002 and implement it in 2004. And when I got to Congress, I wanted to work on the bill that on this issue. But what happens if you're not on the right committee? Doesn't matter if you expanded it in California like I did, they kind of push you aside. So this working group allows people who are not necessarily on Ways and Means to have a voice in this process, and in a bipartisan way. I actually got Republican votes on my bill in California, and it's considered one of the most progressive, lack of a better term, progressive, right? More inclusive paid family leave programs in the country. But Republicans voted for it. Why? Because they know it's about families. It's about mothers, it's about fathers, about children, it's about health outcomes. It's about reducing postpartum depression. But it's also good for business. It allows businesses to retain their employees while they take time off to care for a newborn child or a sick family member. And that's what it's about. These two bills are a step forward. It also demonstrates that there's still bipartisan support for this issue, and that we should prioritize it, not because we're Democrats or Republicans, but because we care about the American family. And here's the thing, we know that if we pass these bills, it's going to allow us to get people more comfortable with this idea, have them actually support this idea in a tangible way. So I want to just say thank you for the working group for inviting me. I know that there's a lot of work to do, and it's not easy. There's still different ideas and different concepts of what the role of government is in people's lives, or should be. But we recognize one thing: let's make it easier, not harder, for families to take care of one another. With that, I will kick it over to Representative Miller Meeks.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored to stand here today with my colleagues from both sides of the aisle as part of the bipartisan paid leave working group to introduce More Paid Leave for More Americans Act. I especially want to thank Representative Bice and Representative Houlahan and their staff, and all of those who came and offered their testimony to us as we went through this process. As a woman who worked her entire life since age 16, both pregnancies, both children, both nursing, and also as a small business employer, this is an issue of which I bring a different perspective, but an important one. In Iowa and across the country, workers are balancing the demands of work, family, and caregiving, and they need a system that supports them without sacrificing flexibility or burdening small businesses. That's why we're committed to advancing smart, innovative solutions that respect the diverse needs of families, farmers, states, and employers, whether they be large businesses or small. I look forward to continuing to work with my college to promote policies that doesn't have burdensome federal mandates, but it makes our workforce healthier, happier, more connected with their families, and more productive, while ensuring that our businesses have the tools to retain the best employees and stay competitive in a global economy. Thank you so much, and I'll now introduce Representative Beyer for his remarks.
Thank you, Doctor, very much. First of all, I'm thrilled to be part of this bipartisan working group, and just thrilled that it's bipartisan. We need to get a lot more done in a bipartisan way. You know, Congressman Gomez is the founder of the Dad's Caucus. I'm the grandfather here today, and with 4 sisters and 3 daughters. And I, as the oldest one, I remember being raised in the 1950s and 60s when most moms were able to stay home. because the incomes that the dads made were sufficient to do that. So my mom was there when I left for school, and when the 6 of us came home, she was there also. It's a different world right now. And without paid family leave and for more people, then what we're finding is that the younger people are postponing motherhood and fatherhood longer and longer. They're doing that because they just can't afford to buy a house or take care of the kids. And in America, where we have an ever-aging population and fewer young people, we need to make the most family-friendly policies we can. And this is right in that absolute sweet spot. It's a rare thing to get someone with 6 babies before age 32, like my mom, but we definitely want to make sure that we're moving to take care of all family members, not just our kids, but our parents too. So many of us were in the sandwich generation where you're taking care of parents and taking care of kids at the same time. And this legislation is a great step in the right direction. So thank you so much for introducing this and letting me be part of it. Let me give it back now to our primary sponsor, Representative Bice.
Thank you, Representative Byer. Appreciate it. At this time, I want to bring up Chiling Tong, the president of the National Asian Pacific Islander American Chamber of Commerce, to give a few remarks. Ms. Tong.
Good afternoon. My name is Chiling Tong, the president of the National ACE. We represent about 130 Asian American chambers and partners throughout the country. And we are really, really proud to support this significant bipartisan pay leave working group over the past 2 years. A big thank to Congressman Bice and also Congresswoman Bice and Congresswoman Houlahan for listening to small business voices and making sure our needs were reflected in their legislation. And also, we are just so grateful for the entire working group. In the business community, many owners want to provide pay leave. They just need the right support to do it without jeopardizing their operations. Pay leave is especially important in Asian American business community, where it's common to live in a multi-generation household and care for aging family members. That's why we believe federal solution can really move the needle. Programs like a competitive grant initiative to help more states create a pay leave options and the Interstate Pay Leave Action Network to connect the dots across states, which will be a big step forward. Thank you.
And finally, maybe the most important person of this press conference, a new mom. I want to bring up to the microphone Katie Hill, who's going to give us a little bit of a perspective on paid leave. So Katie, come on up. And it's Jake, right? Yes, and she has little Jake with her. So thank you, Katie.
Well, first, thank you to everyone who is making these efforts possible. Having the opportunity to work somewhere that provides paid leave has allowed me to continue doing things in my professional career that have been incredible. I am not your typical new mom. I found out I was pregnant when I was working full-time and going to law school at night over at Catholic, and it was a huge feeling of excitement and joy to become a new mom, and also nervousness. What do the next steps look like? Knowing that my employer was going to provide us with 16 weeks paid leave, I was able to figure out how to be a mom, get to know my baby, go to law school, and then eventually go back to work and bring back a punch when I came. I was so excited to go back to a place where I knew they wanted to help me and my family. I think that opportunity for anybody, regardless of if you're from Kansas like me or if you're from New York, is so important, and we have these folks to thank. So thank you so much for all of the opportunities you're making available for women, families, and babies. Thank you.
At this time, we would be happy to take some questions from the press. So, yes, we'll start here. Hi, Kelly.
You said you have 500
plan.
What assurances do you have from Republican leadership that this will ride on the tax front, which will be likely the only vehicle in town?
Well, certainly we've had conversations with leadership, but I think more importantly, we've had conversations with committees. We've had conversations with the White House. We have really done our due diligence to make sure everybody knows the importance of this. And you've seen work on paid leave prior in the first Trump administration. So this is something that I think we feel confident we can get across the finish line, whether it is in the reconciliation package or standalone. I think for us is up for debate. I think that there's pieces of the of paid leave in reconciliation that actually sort of supplement what we're doing, including extending the 45S tax credit, which was initially put into the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. But these pieces are really standalone, and I think the important point that we should make is that they're paid for as well. We have found pay-fors to be able to put these programs into place without touching anything or adding to the debt, and that's an important distinction. I believe we are working on that currently. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Cameron. Well, we have seen over the last 2 years that Chrissy and I have started working on this particular project that states are already moving in that direction. I think this incentivizes them to actually take that next step, providing them a small seed grant to be able to stand up a program, do the necessary research that will need to be done on what a program would look like, setting up a software program to be able to implement. Those are the things we're hopeful that states will look at as they're moving forward. My great state of Oklahoma currently doesn't have a program, but we've been looking at it, and I hope that this particular grant program will incentivize them to apply, hopefully be selected, and then stand something up for hardworking Oklahomans. Yes, Emily. Feel free to come up here as well and answer. There's a couple of them that have been floated out there that are could be part of a rescission package, but the bulk of it is actually something that we feel will not be part of that, and that's I think looking at funding for extracurricular activities on military bases, and instead using those opportunities through a public-private partnership, and then taking the funds and utilizing to pay for the grant program here. True.
Yes, and I also want to go backwards on some of the questions. We have been doing our homework and doing the socialization that's necessary, both here on the House side and also on the Senate side, on the Republican side and on the Democratic side in terms of leadership, to make sure that there are no surprises, that my chief has that on her desk, literally no surprises, so that we make sure that we have the highest opportunity, the highest likelihood of making this happen. Your question about the states and whether there would be states to jump on, part of the reason why we felt so incentivized here at the national level to move forward in the way that we have is that the states were doing it with or without the federal government's involvement, and the result was a really fractionated effort that was at this point starting to distract larger businesses, smaller and mid-sized businesses, because the rules were different depending on where you lived. And so there was a real kind of coming together of both the left and the right, frankly, when the chamber is in the same place as some of your more progressive groups, in the sense of asking the federal government to help, at least have a bar. I think that's why we have the largest opportunity that we've had before to make this happen.
Goldie.
Basically, all of you talked about the bipartisan aspect of this, and you guys have both been working on for 2 years. What is next, if anything, for this specific working group, and are there lessons that you've taken here that apply to other work that you're doing in Congress?
You want me to take it? You want to go ahead?
Well, I'll try, and then you can tell me I'm crazy. Yeah, the way that we started to frame this out, and that's why the bill is named the way it is more paid leave for more people. Our work isn't done. This doesn't answer all the problems. It's not a complete solution. We still have issues such as medical leave and that sort of thing to address, but we at least have the working group and the bones and the relationships to be able to move forward on that. But it's just the beginning, in my opinion, of the kind of work that we need to do to support the American family. And so I would imagine that the next step would also be childcare, as an example. We really need to make sure that these aren't partisan issues, and I think that we're all recognizing that they are not any longer partisan issues and cannot be if we hope to have a strong nation.
I think Representative Houlahan said it best. You know, this is a first step, and we know that there are other areas that we can expand upon. Family medical leave is one of those, but we recognize that we needed to really put this in place first, get this put out there, get states buy-in, and then look at what are the opportunities for expansion in the future. Thank you. Yes. As soon as possible.
Any way possible.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to look at every opportunity, whether it's standalone legislation or whether it rides on something else. You know, we have to be careful because there is fiscal implications with the legislation that we're putting forward, but there's also policy implications. So we want to make sure that we don't do this in a way that would be thrown out by the Byrd rule in the future. So whether or not it's part of reconciliation or sort of standalone, I think we just want to get it done. And I think that you have a bipartisan group of individuals standing behind you that have worked on this and want to see this become law. Look, paid family leave, the original FMLA was done 30 years ago, and the idea behind it was to set ourselves up for a paid family leave policy nationally, but that didn't happen. And here we are, as Chrissy so eloquently said it, 30 years later, and we don't have a paid leave policy. So this is really, I think, a crucial step to support families, to support working families back in our districts and across the country, to provide that first step. And we're excited for the prospects, and we think our colleagues will be as well.
Can I add something?
Absolutely, please.
So I was joking with Chrissy back here. I think this is the first bipartisan press conference I've ever been to.
Well,
and I think there are some lessons to be learned from this experience. One, you know, just because we do see things differently on a bunch of issues doesn't mean that we don't have a common goal of trying to help families and trying to find solutions that can pass a divided Congress, solutions that make sense for working people but also for business that's also paid for. That's good policy, but also good politics. So what I'm kind of trying to do is also, how do we use this as a starting off point, right? How do you use these bipartisan groups to move forward on other issues? Housing is now an issue for working families because most families pay 30% or more of their income towards rent. That's not just in LA. I'm working on a bill with Mike Carey from Ohio. So I think there's something here, but I do want to give them credit for at least attempting to have those conversations that are not necessarily in the spotlight that create a backlash within your own base, but provide an opportunity to do something good for working people and for the country as a whole. So congratulations on all your work, and let's keep it up.
thank you all very much for being here this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephanie. That's terrific. Yeah. Thank you, Chrissy.
Of course.
Oh my gosh, this is so great. No,